You're really skeptical on Sam LaPorta as we switch over to tight end. You've got him 20 spots past ADP, all the way down at 41. The real thing here with LaPorta, hey, he's a good player on a good team. I'm not taking anything away from him, but let's call a spade a spade. The guy scored 10 touchdowns last year. Is that going to happen again in 2024? I don't know. Probably not. Teams are going to key in on him. Jameson Williams maybe ascends, takes that next step, takes a couple targets away from him. But why are you 20 spots below ADP on Sammy LaPorta?
Well, the number one thing, as anyone knows who really looks into it, is my man was a little touchdown dependent's the wrong word, but the guy had like an 8% touchdown rate. So 8% of the time you threw him a ball, he scored. I'm not sure we can replicate that due to things that you said. But here's the thing. It's not really him. It's the cost. Like, we are taking him precisely where Travis Kelce was going like 2 years ago. Maybe three. You know what I mean? It took Kelce a half a decade to get this kind of love, yet here we are handing it out to Sam LaPorta at 21.
Yeah, no question. Sam LaPorta, you're drafting Sam LaPorta right now at his ceiling. It's like, how much better can he get? And you're paying for it. If he has a down season, you're going to be like, oh my God, I wish I would have waited, 2 rounds and just drafted Evan Ingram, who's going to catch 20 more balls. So,
I've got him as a mid 4th round pick. That's precisely where he should be going based on a stellar rookie campaign.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
When I'm on the clock every year, I don't bring a laptop. I don't do that nonsense, John. I print out the Guru cheat sheet. I print it out, and that's what I draft off. I'm just checking names off on the list. I got chicken wing grease on my finger. There's pizza, pepperoni falling onto the sheet. It doesn't matter. That's what I'm here for. But I want to talk to you about players who you see as going against ADP you're not as high on at all. Let's start things off. We already talked about him, so we can kind of buzz through a lot of these guys. CMC, he's 1 overall in ADP. He's 6 in your rankings.
Yeah, by the way, speaking of pizza, I did have a little trip to Martha's Vineyard this year and this week, and it's a requirement in my family. If you drive by New Haven, Connecticut, you're getting pizza. Just FYI. My place, Sally's, was too crowded though. Google Sally's New Haven. You could see the pie there, but McCaffrey, call me paranoid if you'd like. But when you have a guy at this profile, obviously a lot of mileage off the tires, I'm paranoid and scared to death that it's going to fall off. He's got 1,800 touches in 8 years. It's kind of a bigger number. And it's just, to me, it's just too risky with the age factor involved here. LaDainian Tomlinson, by the way, he kind of feel like he changed his opinion a little bit on the age versus workload thing. I think he's a little bit more inclined to look at the workload now, but in McCaffrey's case, not that it's a lot, but he kind of has both things going against him here. 28 years old with those basically 1,800 touches. Obviously a big time needle mover again, but I'm just scared. I'm just paranoid. And I whenever I'm paranoid, I lean on youth. So I'm going to go with a younger guy with fewer miles off the tires. That is it.
Somebody else at the running back position that you're not as high as ADP is Kyren Williams. He has a 2nd round ADP around 15, which actually, if you look at what he did last year, it's interesting that he's not a 1st round pick. Maybe people are really scared off by Blake Corum. You've got him all the way down at 29. And now you look at what he did last year. He owned this backfield. I mean, he was touching the ball some games over 20 times. And he had a really nice stretch where he was putting up, double digits, 20 plus a week in fantasy football PPR leagues, but only played in 12 games, John. They add Blake Corum. Why are you so much lower on Kyren than consensus?
Well, as I've said a million times, and again, I'm not trying to be a hater here, but Kyren Williams was not impressive at all in college. Uh, he was okay. He was kind of a volume guy in the running and the passing game. Did not test very well at the combine. Then had a very underwhelming rookie season in which he had injury issues and all kinds of issues. There was a moment there where he was looked like he was going to get a real opportunity, but the guy got 44 touches in 10 games. And then this time last year, and again, I'm not to be a hater, but let's not forget, as I've said a million times, but I'll say it again. This time last year, I know Cam Akers was there, but it's not like Cam Akers was like a superstar, not Todd Gurley. This time last year, we were taking Kyren Williams at 200 overall. Again, I know Cam Akers was there, but I don't think anyone was that confident in Cam Akers, like totally. Yet here we were, not drafting the backup until the 19th round. So you mean to tell me, and I know what he did last year, but a year later, we're going to take him. And I was really saying this before the Blake Corum pick because he was going off the board at 10. And I'm like, we really taking the guy we were taking at 200 last year at 10 this year when a lot of what he did was volume based. And yeah, sure, he could get the volume again, but it could also result in an injury as it did last year. Oh, and by the way, the Rams last year had absolute skank at running back behind him. Absolute skank. Royce Freeman signed off the couch. Darrell Henderson signed off the couch. Ronnie Rivers, perennially on the couch. And then
owns a furniture store.
Absolute ass. Zach Evans got 9 carries. Blake Corum is a national champion and a bell cow who's more talented than Kyren Williams. I'm not even projecting Corum to fully steal the job, but it's enough of a problem and a concern that, I'm not taking Kyren Williams in the second round.
All right, we're rolling on here. Guru versus ADP. And John, this name is
I'm getting angry now. This is like a battle.
Well, you know what? I get angry when I hear about Devon Achane and his ADP. I just simply can't take this kid in the second round. His ADP, 23. I've seen it even way higher than that. You've got him down at 34. I know Kaplan routinely talks about how he's a guy with a long injury history back at Texas A&M. He got banged up a couple of times last season. We hear about the efficiency numbers and it can't be repeated. But there's a reason, John, people say that is because it probably can't. I mean, you're not going to have 51-point games again where you run for 203 and 4 touchdowns or whatever he had that day.
Not catching anyone by surprise like he did last year.
Right.
They did draft Jalen Wright. I understand that Raheem Mostert is a year older. We'll see if Savon Ahmed, not that I'm worried about him, but they do have other bodies here. And I say bodies, but in a lot of ways, the Shanahan people, they kind of use them as bodies. It's like, what's he washed up? Put him in a body bag. Give me the next body over here. You know what I mean? Like, so right. They'll roll with other people. I thought last year when we opened the season, I'm like, oh, geez, I thought he was a 10 touch a game guy. Guess I was wrong. And then he got hurt like the next week. And then we had another injury. So it's like, I was wrong to believe that that's all he was because they tried to make him a lot more. But was I? Because the year was a kind of an injury mess here. There was a couple of weeks where, he played, but you couldn't trust him, by the way, volatile. But one of my rules at running back in general, I don't want to rely too much on volume. But on the other hand, I hate relying on big plays. That's one of the reasons why I was never a Saquon Barkley guy. If he gets 29 touches, he'll come through no matter what. But there'll be some games where he gets 20 touches, doesn't rip off a long run and gets, 18 carries for 56 and catches 2 balls for 12 and doesn't score. It's like, he's got some issues there, Saquon. Talented guy, obviously, but big play dependent in the running game because he's not that great of a runner, by the way. He's a bouncer still. I don't think he has good vision, honestly.
I thought he was small coming out at A&M. I remember everyone's like, he's going to be between the tackles guy. I looked at him like, no, he's not. I mean, he is kind of what he is. He's a gadget guy. There's a reason they drafted Jalen Wright. So he's going to take over from Mostert next year. And it's kind of this thunder and lightning team.
Yeah,
Josh
yeah,
Jacobs used to have Thunder and Lightning. He's now gone from Vegas. He's in Green Bay in a really good offense behind a solid offensive line, John. The ADP has Josh Jacobs at 25. You got him all the way down at 39 overall. There were times last year, John, he looked a little cooked. I'm not going to lie.
yeah,
Far from the 2 years ago when he was a running back one.
yeah, and that is part of the equation. I mean, I'm not that down on him, but it's about a round, which is important for a running back, and it's certainly worth looking into and exploring. It's one of those. It's a tougher call because he's had a pretty distinguished career up until this point, but not without some speed bumps and injury concerns. Uh, it just didn't really connect with me when it went down. By the way, it kind of is a 1-year deal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so they're not paying him a ton of money. It's kind of a 1-year deal. They did re-sign AJ Dillon, which shocked me. Now he may not make the team, but and then Marshawn Lloyd, I actually think people are getting a little gaga over him, a little crazy in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like thinking he'll have standalone value. But I do like Marshawn Lloyd, and I do think he is a great receiver. So I could easily see him making Josh Jacobs, something of an afterthought in the passing game, as he has been at times in the career. But most importantly, I know Matt LaFleur has been a running game guy, but I'm just looking at the team and how things played out last year. Look, they didn't have a running game last year until Aaron Jones came back. I don't think Josh Jacobs can look as good as Aaron Jones looked down the stretch. So I think they'll be kind of a passing team. I mean, that's the strength of the team in terms of their receiving core. And Jordan Love has shown to be a guy when they score, they usually score via the forward pass. So I'm not sure we can count on Jacobs for like 9, 10, 12 touchdowns. I don't know if we can count on him for more than 30 grabs. I don't know if we can count on him at all because of all the bad data points we have from him. I know it was weird with Josh McDaniels and all that dysfunction, but the year before, it's like, oh, he shocked everybody. Oh, yeah, in a contract year.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's 2 years older. So it's still a little bit of a contract year, but I guess color me skeptical overall on Josh Jacobs.
You're really skeptical on Sam LaPorta as we switch over to tight end. You've got him 20 spots past ADP, all the way down at 41. The real thing here with LaPorta, hey, he's a good player on a good team. I'm not taking anything away from him, but let's call a spade a spade. The guy scored 10 touchdowns last year. Is that going to happen again in 2024? I don't know. Probably not. Teams are going to key in on him. Jamison Williams maybe ascends, takes that next step, takes a couple targets away for him. But why are you 20 spots below ADP on Sammy LaPorta?
Well, the number one thing, as anyone knows who really looks into it, is my man was a little touchdown dependent's the wrong word, but I mean, the guy had like an 8% touchdown rate. So 8% of the time you threw him a ball, he scored. I'm not sure we can replicate that due to things that you said. But here's the thing: it's not really him; it's the cost. Like, we are taking him precisely where Travis Kelce was going like 2 years ago, maybe three, maybe three. You know what I mean? It took Kelce a half a decade to get this kind of love, yet here we are handing it out to Samuel LaPorta at 21.
Yeah, no question. Sam LaPorta, you're drafting Sam LaPorta right now at his ceiling. It's like,
Yeah.
how much better can he get? And you're paying for it. If he has a down season, you're going to be like, oh my God, I wish I would have waited, 2 rounds and just drafted Evan Ingram, who's going to catch 20 more balls. So,
I mean, I've got him as a mid 4th round pick. That's precisely where he should be going based on a stellar rookie campaign.
yeah, I can't take Sam LaPorta in the 2nd round, not with any kind of build. I never liked taking Kelce in the 2nd round when he was, setting the world on fire. It
I
just,
didn't either.
it creates a weird build when you're trying to, win a home league. But again, like you said, a lot of paths to win a championship. One guy who helped folks win a lot of championships last year, John, was Nico Collins. You were in on him. I remember slapping the sticker on the board of my home league. This was like, I tweeted out the draft board earlier today from last year. It was probably like the 11th round. And I go, sleeper wide receiver of the year. Boom. Nico Collins. Absolutely loved it. He was just shot out of a cannon, really connected down there in Houston with CJ Stroud. But now, John, I think people got tape on him. They added Steph Diggs. You still have Tank Dell if he's healthy out there. Like, I just can't buy into Nico Collins, 28th overall. You got him all the way down at 43.
Not to be completely basic with it, but one of my rules as I've seen things unfold over the last 30 years professionally, I guess, in this business, and I guess hell, more than that, 35 years, 37 years, whatever, playing fantasy. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Mhm.
And the Houston Texans, like, we had no expectations last year. Stroud was incredible. Granted, a little fluky. I mean, if you broke down every damn play, I don't think it was as good as it appeared. And now you add Stephon Diggs, you get Tank Dell back. Obviously, everything else. You bring in a Joe Mixon. It's like, oh my God, they're loaded. Like, what could go wrong? Well, something I believe will. Probably Stroud takes a small step back, probably puts up good numbers because he's proven already that he's good, but maybe a little step back. And then, of course, the target share for Nico has got to fall. If you get a full season out of Tank Dell and Steph Diggs, if you get 12 to 14 games each from those two guys, then the target share absolutely has to fall. So, shout out to Nico for balling out. He really did unbelievable job last year. And they did a great job, Bobby Slowick, getting him the ball, even when everyone knew it was coming, which I'm sure we can replicate that. But still, not that I'm down on the Texans. It's just a little too good to be true for me. And of course, the target share numbers and the ADP don't really line up. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have 3 top 40 receivers or whatever.
Exactly. And
You just can't.
I heard Tank Dell actually talking this week. He was interviewed by reporters at camp, and they asked him about all the receivers in camp. And he mentioned, oh, well, it's just going to kind of be a hot hand situation. One week it's going to be me. Another week it's going to be Diggs. Yeah. 1 week it'll be Nico. Like, that's not what I want to hear for fantasy football, because you know what that means?
Right.
That means inconsistency. That means your team, when you need him to score points, he's not going to maybe come through for you. I like these really small target trees. That's why we love Devontae Smith this year, because listen, they're throwing to Brown, they're throwing to Smith. That's it. Goddard, he gets hurt every 5 minutes. They don't throw to the running back. It's 2 guys. So that's, just remember that when you're looking at these Texans out there.
Now, I will say, I agree with everything you said. Thanks to Fantasy Points data, if that does happen, we have a pretty good opportunity to figure out which guy is going to be based on the data on the coverages and all that. And by the way, I would not doubt a single word Tank Dell ever says, because I reported back when I talked with him at the combine. I was like, wow, this kid is the real deal. Like, I just surmised from talking with him that he's been doubted his whole life based on his lack of size, as he told me. Mm-hmm. And he also brought up Devontae Smith, by the way. He's like, see, he could do it. See? I'm like, man. And I came back from that, and I said last year, all year, and I wrote it. I'm like, I'm not doubting that guy. And we saw what happened. So if you hear Tank Dell talking anything, that kid is real. All right, so believe what he says.
Let's finish off with a couple of rookie wide receivers here. And we're talking about only one ball to go around. Odunze for the Bears has an ADP of 64. John, this might be the biggest gap, with these next 2 guys, the biggest gaps we've ever seen between you and ADP. ADP of 64, you've got him down at 147. We talked about his OC coming over. He didn't do anything with JSN last year. And now we're going to expect rookie quarterback, still, offensive line. Yeah, we'll see about that. But Odunze is going to produce as a top 65 player in fantasy. There's no way, unless Keenan Allen gets hurt.
Yeah, of course. So everyone is assuming that will be the case, and they might be right about that. But I'm looking at a guy going off that board in that range, Christian Kirk.
Oh my God.
Like really? Like, here's a guy who had 108 targets in 13 games the year before last, and balled the F out, 68 grabs. And then last year he got hurt. He was not a little bit of a down year, but Christian Kirk is pretty damn good. And by the way, after Evan Ingram, like he's the guy. Like I could argue Christian Kirk is the first read for Trevor
I love
Lawrence.
Christian Kirk. I loved him 2 years ago when he broke out, and I love him this year as a tremendous value in that
Yeah,
offense.
I did too. I liked him last year as well, and the year before when he really broke out. There's another guy chopped it up with it in Indy at his combine. Rock solid dude, rock solid, and that's what he's been.
How about Xavier Worthy? ADP has him as a top 75 player. He's 74 overall. You got him all the way down at 166. We were chopping it up before the show, and I said, this kid, look, to me, he's going to play like that MVS shot play role. Like, why would you want him in anything other than a best ball format? And your rankings seem to agree.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, we could be wrong again. We could always be wrong, but I'm just looking at it from a logical perspective and all that. And I know that Rashee Rice did exactly what I thought Sky Moore would do last year. But in my defense, they freaking played him Rice in the slot when I thought they would put Moore out there. Oh, they never gave Moore a chance, really. Uh, Maybe there's more to the story that I know, but there's a big difference between. And look, I liked Rashee. I came back from the Senior Bowl, watched him with Brett Whitefield that year. I'm like, yeah, I like him. Like I interviewed him too. I set up an interview because I liked him at the combine. He was a great guy to talk to. Obviously, he's had his off the field stuff. I did not pick up on anything like extremely dark or negative, but hey, who the hell knows? But I enjoyed that little chop up with him. But there's a big difference between, and look, he does deserve credit for working himself into the mix as he did. Big difference though between finding a place where you're settling into the soft spot of the zone, making yourself an available target from Patrick Mahomes like 7 yards away, and being on the same page as Patty Mahomes catching 40-yard air balls. Like, good luck with Xavier Worthy with that in a complicated offense. And maybe he does or doesn't have the confidence of Mahomes. That's a hard thing to wrap your head around and obtain if you're a receiver. Like, how do you get the confidence of Mahomes? Because if he doesn't have confidence, then he ain't throwing you the ball. He also doesn't track the deep ball all that well. So, all kinds of problems there. Hollywood Brown, as you mentioned, is very interesting this year, but it's going to be Hollywood, Rashee Rice, and Kelsey. And then maybe Xavier Worthy is the fourth receiver, but good luck with that. Taking the fourth receiver on, even the Chiefs at 70, whatever overall. It's ridiculous.
You look at the Philly live draft, Eagle Ed took Xavier Worthy in the middle of the 10th round. 2 picks later, Josh Palmer goes off the board, who you can argue is the number 1 receiver for the Chargers this year. I would much rather have, and this is the unsexiest pick of all time, but I'm going to say it, I'd rather have Josh Palmer over Xavier Worthy in any draft in America this year.
All day long. I've been way over Palmer literally since like February on this puppy. And right now I've got him at wide receiver 47, ADP at 62 with 64 grabs, which would lead the Chargers, by the way. Good player. Not great. Good. Inside, outside versatility. I think Ladd McConkey is going to be inside. So Josh Palmer is your top outside receiver for Justin Herbert. I know they're going to run a lot, but it's one of those target share things. I think he's going to get like a nice 23% target share.
Could Josh Palmer be this year's Nico Collins? Man, who knows?
Yeah, I'm feeling that one. I've been on Palmer from the beginning. If you follow me, I'm like, again, I'm not saying he's a stud, but like rock solid. And he's been that.
Yeah. Well, if you guys want more of the Guru's cheat sheet, go over to FantasyPoints.com. We have our rankings that the computer spits out, and then we know how you guys love the Guru. Guru has his own special section for just his cheat sheet, his top 200, PPR, standard, half point, whatever you need. It's all there at FantasyPoints.com, John. Well, we'll let you get back to packing and get on the road, but this was a fun exercise. Man, we're knee deep in draft season, brother. This is going to be a lot of fun for the next few weeks.
Yeah, and you and I just put an hour and 14 minutes on the clock here with some content here for the podcast people. Shout out to everybody who listens and downloads. Tell your friends, hook us up, throw us a bone, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yeah, man. Good thing they pay us by the minute here. So
Yeah.
we'll keep going. So, all right, folks, enjoy your weekend out there. Thanks for jumping on with the Guru and I. We'll see you next time for the Fantasy Points podcast.